Back in the 1980s, the best Chinese restaurant in the Los Angeles area was arguably Fung Lum's, situated at the top of Universal Cities Hill. Unfortunately, when Universal switched the entrance to the park to the other side, Fung Lum could no longer afford to pay the enormous rent that they had on this 400-seat restaurant, and all of the beautiful architecture was ultimately demolished. But one of the most memorable things about the restaurant was their sweet and sour sauce. Unlike almost everywhere else, it wasn't just sugary red goop. Eventually, I was able to talk to a chef from there who told me only three little things, secrets, but that was enough to develop this recipe.
The first step is to make up a little bouquet garni bag here. I've got a teaspoon of white peppercorns, teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorns, and the garlic. These tiny little cloves, I didn't bother to peel. It won't make any difference because they're going to be in that bag anyway. I just sliced them in half. Now I've got the pork here. I'm going to dry it off. It's been washed, rinsed. Pour salt on it. Now we heat up a pan, pressure cooker, adding about a tablespoon of sesame oil to this. It doesn't need a lot because the pork has a lot of fat on it naturally anyway. This pan is pretty hot now. I'm going to begin frying the pork in the sesame oil. We want to get it quite brown. And the whole time I'm browning this, I have it on the heat on 8 out of 10. It's quite hot. You really want to get the outside of this nicely browned. Not burnt though, of course. Okay. That's all that done. Now I'm going to add 750 mils of water to this. Good size lump of ginger, and that pack, that bouquet garni with the garlic and the Sichuan peppercorns and all that. Bring this up to a simmer. When you begin to see wisps of steam here, I don't know if it's visible in the camera here, and you start to see wisps of steam coming out of the vent, then it's time to lower the heat down. I'm going down to about 2 out of 10 and begin counting the time. Then when the time is up and it's rested, you get the meat out of there, cool this down, and the ginger is going to be discarded. The same thing for the bouquet garni bag there. And then this will get passed through a sieve and put into the refrigerator, and all of this will be stored until the next day. I have the ingredients here lined up for making the base sauce, the sweet and sour base sauce. Distilled vinegar, which is actually very hard to get in Russia. This is brought over from Finland. Apple cider vinegar, 200 grams of ketchup. It's not a Chinese ingredient, but you know, this is a Chinese American dish really. 200 grams of sugar.
1 lemon, 1 orange.
Some slices of ginger, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 grams. Just take a knob and slice it coarsely. And 3 plums. These weigh about 100 grams in all. And then finally a little slurry of a couple of teaspoons of cornstarch in some cold water. Into 4-liter stock pot here. Going to squeeze all the citrus. Don't worry about the seeds because it's going to be strained off later anyway. And you drop the whole pieces of fruit in. Same thing for the lemons. Now when it comes to the plums, you're probably better off taking squeeze the pit out of them. Because this pit's pretty big. We're going to run a stick blender on it later. We don't want the pit to fly up from the blade. And we get the ginger pieces, sugar, ketchup, distilled vinegar, 75 mils, cider vinegar, 75 mils. And then we have the pork stock that was prepared the day before. The fat has separated into the skin on top. We're just going to scrape that off, get rid of that. Remember, this is flavored already with garlic, the white peppercorns, and the Sichuan peppercorns. So this isn't a plain stock. This is going to get added to the pan. And all of this goes in, along with that cornstarch slurry. We'll give this a stir and bring it on up to a simmer. When it comes to an actual boil, reduce the heat down a little bit. I'm going down to about 5 now, about medium, and begin counting the time. This is the level of simmer that you want to keep it at. Now, after about 15 minutes, I'm going to take the fruit, squeeze out the last of it, juices from it, get this out of here, and then we're going to continue the reduction. But the lemon and the orange goes after 15 minutes. It's been another half hour now, or about 45 minutes since we started counting the time. Now I'm going to hit it with a stick blender. And we're going to add just a little bit of salt to it. Now, if you like it this color, this is fine. Traditionally, this is more red, so you can add food color to this. The plums have contributed some color to this. Usually you get the ridiculous glowing red sweet and sour sauce in restaurants. I mean, if you like that, then you can add add food coloring to it. This is the natural color, and it's a classier color, but it's up to you. So this is going to cook for about another 15 more minutes, and then we'll strain it. And when the time is finally up, pass it through a sieve. Get as much through as possible, of course. And the solids get discarded.
Now, the final secret ingredient to this is 2 or 3 teaspoons of Maggi seasoning. This is not a Chinese ingredient. It's actually made in Switzerland, but it's been embraced by many Chinese restaurants as their own secret ingredient. It adds a depth of flavor you can't really reproduce any other way. Look for this if you haven't tried it already. The second volume of my cookbook is now available through Amazon and other booksellers. It covers the YouTube recipes from the last 8 months with more in-depth information. I received requests for the procedures on all recipes, and I've listened to you. Every recipe has step-by-step directions, and of course there are recipes that aren't on YouTube. But this is not just a recipe book. Far from it, as you can see from some of the topics scrolling by here. I'm certain that anyone who watches my channel and any serious cook will find this book a treasury of useful and new information you won't find anywhere else. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.